This video is to help you with Visual Studio Code. Now, you may already have this downloaded and installed, but if you don't, you can go ahead and do that now. So this is on Windows, this is what it looks like. On a Mac, this is what it looks like on a Mac. And so it's really similar on both platforms. If you're using Linux, you can see the Visual Studio Code is available for all of these. Now, Visual Studio Code is a text editor. Now, there are other text editors. I looked on this Best Text Editor of 2025. They have Sublime Text listed first, and I believe the only reason that they're doing this is they're probably getting some kind of a kickback if you sign up or if you buy it from this site. So they show Visual Studio Code here. Visual Studio Code has lots of stuff that will help you as a web designer. So if you don't have it, go download Visual Studio Code. You can just type in Visual Studio Code, and it will take you here. Now, there is a difference between Visual Studio Code and Visual Studio. So Visual Studio is a development platform. This is for developing software and not necessarily websites. You can also do software in Visual Studio Code, but this Visual Studio is a different thing, so you make sure you get Visual Studio Code. So I am going to go to the intermission here while you download and install that. Okay, now that we're back, I just wanted to show you some of the functions with Visual Studio. So we will switch over and go into a closer view of this. So the first thing that we want to get your Visual Studio Code with a couple of extensions. So here it shows, I'm showing the GitHub pilot chat. Those have both been installed here, and I will show you how you can use that towards the end of the video. There is some HTML and CSS. So if you want to, you can type HTML, and it will give you these different things. The ones up here are showing that I have installed. There's other ones, these ones that are crossed out are ones that they're either not working or they want you to install a different version. So these extensions help us with different things. Now, the one that I want you to find is Live Server. And this one will help you, and I will show that a little bit later too, how that helps with your website coding. Andrew Wilson is using Live Server as he's showing. So as he's typing the code and then he's showing in the browser how that looks, he's doing that with Live Server. So you can install Live Server now with your Visual Studio Code, you can get that installed. But really what we're trying to do now is get GitHub connected to Live Server. So there's a couple of ways to do this. One is if you bring up View and go into the command palette, and you try to do git clone, that's one way that you can do that. So the other one is manage here, and then it says sign into sync settings. You can click this, and what this does is this is bringing up a window in your browser, and so we're just going to continue to authorize Visual Studio Code with GitHub. So this is how it's getting connected. So then it's saying open Visual Studio Code. So we're back to Visual Studio Code, and now we are connected. So what we can do at this point, let's go back to our GitHub. I'm just going to go back to GitHub. And so I'm logged in here. Here's my dashboard. I'm showing my repositories on the side. Now, last week we set up this repository. And so it is showing our index.html here. And I've made some changes to this. We will. Now I can make the changes here because I did some practicing, but I am going to commit the changes here. However, I'm going to go here, and this in the URL, I'm going to copy this URL right here. So we're going to come back over to Visual Studio Code. We're going to come under View, and we're going to go to Command Palette. Oh, you know what? I forgot. What else you need to install is you need to install Git. Now, Git is the software that helps us communicate between Visual Studio Code and GitHub. So in GitHub, hold on. Let's see. Let's switch back over to this view. So there is Git. So this is and I will give you the link. I created a little page in here that will give you links to these things, but we're getting Git installed. So it goes through the different versions here and how to install it. On Mac, if you just type in this Git version, it will prompt you to install it. In Windows, a little bit different. You need to go to the download page, and on this download page, I would just suggest getting the Git for Windows. Most of you are going to have a 62-bit computer, and so you can download the Git there. So in your downloads folder, it's going to look something, and I can switch back over to this view. So it's going to look something like this Git 2.48.1 64-bit. So and that will take a little bit to get installed. So I am going to go back to the intermission because you need to get Git installed. Now, if you already have Git installed, you could update it. This is, if PowerShell, it shows to do this. If you've got a command prompt, so let's switch back over and I'll show you PowerShell. So this is how you can check. So go under View, click this, go under Terminal, click on New Terminal. That will show up. I'm going to get us out of this. So here we've got the terminal. And to find out if you have Git, you can just type in, move my cursor so you can see. So Git version, you hit enter, and then it will show your Git version. If it shows something else, or if it doesn't show this, then it's not installed. So I am going to go back to the intermission and to make sure that you get Git installed. Okay, we're back. So you should have Git installed. You should have checked it to make sure that it's there. I'll switch back over to a Mac. In the Mac version, so let's see. So in a Mac, you're going to have, oh, this is Sublime text. Let's get out of Sublime here. So in Mac, you're going to do a similar thing here. Let's switch over to this view so you can get a little bit closer. So here we show, if you type in Git version, it will show this. And I guess this is the latest version, this is the latest Apple version for Git. So this is under terminal. I'm not sure that I will get this right on a, I don't think I have it set up correctly, but so you hit your launch pad, and I don't have it zoomed in very well for this, but then you just type in terminal, and then you get your terminal like that. That's how you get your terminal on a Mac. So switching back over to Windows, because the rest of this will be the same once Git is installed. So we're already connected to, we're connected to GitHub. And so now that we're connected to GitHub, we can do what we were looking at before. So here, so this is back to the repository. So I will go back and show this. So then we've got repositories. And in here, this is the one that I did from last week. You should already have one created with a similar name. When you click there, there's other places you can get this, but this is the one that I am normally doing. So back in Visual Studio Code, we're going to go to View, Command Palette, and now you should see the Git clone here. So if you click on this, then it will give you, and then this is where you type in your repository. So you just click on that, and then this brings up your file explorer. And what I would suggest doing is going to your desktop, and then we are going to create a new folder. And I am just going to call this, and you can do this uppercase. It doesn't, most of the web stuff that you do, you will leave lowercase. But right here, I'm going to do this on my desktop. I'm going to click in here. I'm going to click here. And then I'm going to click Select Repository Destination. So on Windows, you'll get a pop-up like this that says, and I would just click Open. So here, so what we have done is we have now downloaded what was on the Git repository. So now this is where on your computer, so this is where the live server needs to go. So let's click on the Go Live here. And then here we go. We've got our art. Now, I'm going to pull this over so that we can see what we're doing here. I don't want to drop too much of this. Let's make sure we don't drop this, that you can see what's going on here. I'll scratch this one up so we'll get some more code. So you will see Andrew doing something like this. So I will do an H2 and week 2. See, and you can see that it starts to update on the page. Now, the way I'm doing this is if you go under Edit, File, and then under Preferences, and then under Settings, now type Auto Save. So you have this Auto Save setting. You drop this down, and yours is probably off. So click on After Delay, and then on File, Save, Auto. So here we have the delay, and I've put in 2,500. You probably have 1,000. 1,000 is a minute. 2,500 is 2.5 seconds. And so once you do this, once you make the changes to those, you can just close the settings. They're saved. So you will see what this does. We'll put in another little. So right here, this is the autopilot is doing this for me. So today we're learning about Git and GitHub. And you can see if I hit. So now what this is Copilot is helping out with this, and you can connect Copilot to your GitHub. Now you will notice that you're managing your Copilot plan. If we do this, you can see. I'll pull this out here, but there's a start a free trial. If you want so you have some, you can use some things with Copilot here. But the free trial, it's $20 a month. You obviously don't need to do that. So one of the other interesting things is, so this is our live server, and you'll notice the HTML, it's not on the web. This is just on our computer. And so we've got those things. And so as you're making changes to this, it will update on this page. So now, the reason I want you to use GitHub is because you can put your code out on GitHub, and then I can see what you're doing in GitHub. So let's look. So right here, if we look at our code on GitHub, we don't have the changes yet. So what we're going to, this is what this little source control is. So you click on source control, and then we are going to commit. Now they want a message in here. If you hook up Copilot, it will drop in a little message. You can type that in. You can type in whatever you want. It doesn't really matter, but you do need to type something in there, or when you hit commit, it will give you an error. So now we're going to sync the changes. So now so if we refresh here, now the code that I had on my computer is now synced to GitHub. Now, if we go over to the settings and go over pages, now this is, if we visit the website, now see right here, it is not showing our changes yet. We can refresh this a couple of times. It's not doing that. And so we're going to click on this open a new incognito window, and there are the changes that we made. But if we go back into our browser and do the refresh, oh, now it's showing. But you see, it took it a little bit before those changes are reflected. So just be aware that there is a delay between when you push your code to GitHub and when it shows up. Oh, I accidentally closed. There we go. So if you accidentally close it like I did, you can just click on this down here to re-update what you're doing. Now, we can go back here. We can take this back, and then you can do your editing. Now, we also need to add your style.css. So you can add your style CSS. You can add this here. And it shows you here. I'm going to do Control I just for fun. Okay, so we will see what this does. So you can see the Copilot build that for us. So if we go back here in our header, so what this did is this connected, it connected our, now here you can see our CSS has changed the way this looks. So let's go back into the CSS. Let's look under, I'm going to do H1 out here. And see, you can see it's giving us, so this is where, with that, like on the color, so you can see if I wanted to change the color, well, we can change. So this helps us change the color for that. And you can see where this is helping us build the website. And this is why we're using live server. However, this, once again, we've got these over here. This is not out on the internet yet. I am going to drop this in. I'm going to hit the commit here. Now, I haven't synced the changes yet. And if we click on our GitHub, look at our code. So we only have this one file here. I am going to sync the changes. And then when I hit this, here we've got the style CSS. So this is our local file. This is going to setting, pages. So I'm going to open it in a new tab. So here we still have, there we go. Now it's updated with our CSS. So now you can see, I would like you to submit this link, or so I can see what your page looks like. I will also But from there, you can also see in here, this is showing my GitHub username. And so I can use that to look your repository up and see what your code looks like. There's also a way I hit F12, it brings up the developer portal. It brings up the developer tools. And so I can see, we can all see what these look like. To bring up the developer tools, and sorry, it's showing up below. Let's see if I can get that to show up. Oh, I am switching over. I'm going to switch back over, and you can see in the other. So here, making this a little bit bigger, click on the three little dots, more tools, and then you can see where the developer tools are. That made them go away, but we can bring those up, developer tools, and then it brings up these things where we can look at the different items. So that's just some of the things that can help you build the web pages and that's why I want you to use Visual Studio Code and GitHub. Plus, it will make it easier for you as you are developing.